name is Chioma Moma and welcome to my channel. If you're new here, huge welcome. Make sure you subscribe, and if you have been here before, welcome back. Don't forget to share and to leave your comments below. So one thing I love to do is encourage working parents on how we can be our best, do all the things we need to do while raising amazing children. Because at the end of the day, no matter what career heights you reach or achieve, you'll be most miserable if your children don't turn out right. So one thing that is very uppermost on most parents' minds is, what school will my child go to? When my kids were young, it was always like nursery school, which school to choose. Should I do a crash? Should I do a regular nursery? That was the big thing. Is the place clean? There were a lot of things that went into choosing. Is it close to my house? What time do they close? Do they have after school? And if you thought that, doing early years was harder, then we could go to the primary school and the secondary. When you get to the secondary level, it's a whole different ballgame, because you're thinking, oh, do I want to do day versus boarding? And you're thinking, what are the advantages? For a lot of parents, you're like, you know what? My lifestyle is very busy. I need to have someone that can take care of my children when I'm not there. So boarding is a good option. For another set of parents, they're like, no, I want to spend as much time with my children as possible, so they must stay at home with me and they must be day students. For another set of parents, they're like, I need my child to be more independent. They're a bit spoiled. I really need them to get into the world and understand how to do things on their own, and then to have more structure, and I've not been able to achieve this for them in the home, so let them go to boarding. Whatever your reasons are for moving your child to boarding or keeping them as day students, make sure you do your homework well. Look for a good school. Ask other parents for referrals. Do your own homework. Go and look around the school. In fact, there was a school I remember I went to that school so often to do my due diligence, that they started thinking, this woman is setting up a school and she's a spy. Because as in, why is she coming here so many times? What is she trying to find out? She's trying to poach our staff. And I laughed and laughed. I was like, no way. I just want to know if this is a good place for me to put my children. So do that. Do your due diligence. Talk to other parents. Look at the owner of the school. Look at the vision, the values of the school. Most schools will tell you, oh, you can't come when the school is in session. If they do allow you to come when they're in session, please have a look at how the children are. It was so bad that for me, I remember there was a primary school I wanted my children to go to. I almost waylaid parents. As in, after school, I would stop them and just be like, okay, do you have a child here? Are you happy with this school? That was how much I was driven to find out if the school was a good fit for my children. So do what you need to do about finding the best place for your child. Another thing that is very important, when you're looking at whether it's a boarding or day school, especially with the boarding one, is that you need to make your presence felt. Because for some parents, you feel that, oh, I've sent my child to boarding, my work is done. No. As though the work is just starting. You need to make sure the school knows that you are there, whether you're half a mile away or you're in a different state. Make sure they feel you. Have a good grasp of the school's key staff, the people who are going to look after your child. Visit the school with them if possible. Visiting days are very important. Do everything you can to make sure that you're present, even though you're not physically with your child. Because like my mom's friend always says, if you love your child, the school will love your child. Let the school know that they cannot mess with this mom's child or this dad's child by making sure you are very present in what they are doing. Try and look out for small cues that show maybe the child is being bullied, or they're not very happy, or they're not settled. Look for things and make sure you're working with them to ensure that they have a good time and they're able to settle in their school environment. It is very important. What might work for one child might not work for another. I'll give you an example. I schooled out of state. I grew up in Lagos. I had to school in Benin, and I cried every time I went back to school. I cried. But I was just a very emotional child. I actually did quite well in Benin. I was okay. I was well settled. But then my younger sister, who didn't used to cry at all, had a miserable time in her own secondary school that was very close to home, and then she had to be changed to another school, and she ended up going to QC, which was in the same state. My mother was able to monitor her more closely, even though it was still a boarding school, but she was able to go there more and, make sure that she saw her more. So those are some things you need to do when your child is in boarding. And then let's move on from secondary school. You think, oh, well, it's done. I've gotten my child to a good secondary school. My work is done. Everything is all over. It's a lie. University is even tougher. I did not expect I would have to do so much work finding the right university for my children. I have one who's done with school now and two more who are in university. And it is such a, there are a lot of variables. You're thinking, is my child going to school in Nigeria? Is my child schooling abroad? I even have a whole course and videos on choosing the right school for your children. I even have an ebook on choosing the right school. I'll put all the details in the comments so you can get those books, get the ebook, watch the video, or any of those resources I have, because I know it's a tough decision, especially with the university stage. It's something you need to do with God. You need to, of course, every stage is with God. You need to pray through every stage, but this one is actually requires a bit more of a thought process. You're looking at your child's nature. Is he an introvert? Is he an extrovert? What kind of campus will be better? Is it a small campus? Is it a big campus? What kind of support does he need? A child going far from home, does he have any guardians? Is there anybody around him that can give him that support? It's not easy. We keep our children close to home. We keep them very sheltered, and then you now thrust them into a different country, and you don't get to see them for some time, for up to a year. Not very wise. You must keep in contact with those children. Even if you're not seeing them as often as they need to be seen, make sure you're talking to them closely. And sometimes phone calls don't even show everything. It's only so much you can get from a phone call. Try and do video calls sometimes so you can understand what's going on with your child. Make sure you have someone that can help you check on this child and make sure everything is going well. Personally, for my child who is out of the country, I speak to him every day. Some people might think, oh, this is too much. No, it's not. It works for me. I'm able to know that, look, something is off. His voice has changed. What is going on? Are you okay? And if necessary, get him the help that he needs to support him being in a different country. It can be very, very stressful for children to be so far from home, studying in a different environment, a different country. Everything is different. People speak different. People look different. It's a whole lot, So we need to make sure we're not just flinging our children into these countries without giving them the requisite support. So there's so much that goes into all these things. And I'm just here to encourage you that look at every stage when you're trying to choose a school for your child. Make sure you do it with God. Make sure you ask the right questions. Make sure you do the things that need to be done in terms of going to visit the school if possible and going online to do your research. For my son that was going to the US, I went as far as reaching out to the professors, reaching out to former students to find out which of these schools would make sense for this child. There is so much that we need to do, and we should not take it lightly. So the choice of school your child goes to is very important. Think about it for you and adults. The schools you went to have become part of who you are today. I went to a primary school in Lagos, St. Xavier's, and I went to another one also in Lagos called Corona, and they shaped part of who I am today, my ability to read fast and so many things. Secondary school, I went to Federal Benin. For university, I went to OAU Ile-Ife, Great Ife. And I also went to do my postgrad at the universities of Exeter and Anglia Ruskin, and all those made an impact on who I am as an individual. The alumni networks, the way I read, the way I speak, and just so many different things. So it's a very important aspect of your child's future. You can't just send them anywhere. It's a very easy sometimes and sometimes a very difficult choice. Because easy in the sense that you might just say, oh, my older children went to this school, so let the younger ones go there. It's not always as easy as that. Sometimes you have to actually go and do the work and ask yourself, was it a good experience for my older children? Shouldn't I look for something different for the younger child? But if it worked, then you can go ahead. So there's so many things to think about. And that's why I'm putting this episode together to help us and to give us a few pointers as we decide where our children go to. Most importantly, I've put some resources together in a book and in a course, which you can find online. Finding the right uni and choosing the right school for your children. You can find everything at my seller store. Get those resources. Ask yourself these questions. What am I looking for in a school? Is it just about the optics? Is it just about the environment? Is it about, oh, I want my kids to be with only posh people? Or is it that, oh, I want my child to have a Nigerian certain education? Or I want them to have a foreign education. What exactly are you looking for and why? There is no wrong or right. Just make sure your values are aligning with what you're looking for in your child's school. Do not put your child in a school that at the end of the day, you will start regretting and feeling that, oh, I made a poor decision. Take your time. Start to do things way ahead of time. Do not wait. If your child is in secondary school, in SS1 or year 9 or year 10, you should already be thinking about that university. Don't wait until year 12, because that's what I did with my first child, and it gave me a lot of headache because I put things off way too much, and it gave us a lot of difficulty in arriving at where he went to school eventually. Thank God he went somewhere that he was happy and he was able to thrive. But I know we should have started that process earlier. And with my other children, I started way earlier. So do your homework, do your due diligence, and make sure you make the best decision that you can afford for your child. Because that's another thing. Do not go and do the one that will give you high BP when you're trying to pay school fees. Please, please and please and please think about all these factors and put your child in a school that they will be grateful for at the end of the day. So when choosing the earlier stages of school, i.e. early years, nursery, primary, and even secondary, you can make your own executive decision and say, this is where my child is going to. But when it comes to university, it's a whole different ballgame, like I mentioned earlier. Your child's temperament even comes into play. And that's why you need to do it with your child. It's not something you just sit down and say, oh, you are going to here or you are going to there. Sit down with your child. First of all, their course of study should be something that they are choosing, not you. Or they are choosing with your guidance. For me, for example, I studied law. That was what I wanted initially, but my mother guided me, telling me, look, these are your strengths, and this is why law will make a good choice for you of degree. But when you see you have a child who already really knows what they want, you've studied that child over time, which is why it's important to know your child. You've seen them over time, you've seen that this child is inclined to the arts or inclined to the sciences. When they call the course, you should not be surprised and say, oh, this is something you've always been saying for years. I see you excel here. I see you doing well here, and go with them. Don't say, oh, I don't like architecture. Oh, I don't like medicine. Oh, I don't like, mass media, so you're not doing it. That child has been showing you all the signs through the years. And if you're an observant parent, you should have seen them. So help them, support them, and then go with them and choose the right course, and then choose the right school. For instance, if you're just sending a child abroad to somewhere that is really cold, say somewhere like Canada, and you've already said this child cannot do well with cold, are you really making the right choice? You might say, well, they're young and they'll cope eventually, but you need to really be careful. For me, using myself as an example, when my second son said he wanted to go to the US and he did all the needful, it was easier because I already knew that he could do well with the weather. With my first son, I knew he would struggle extremely. It would be really tough for him to cope with the weather. Will some kids cope in the end? Yes, they would. But I knew it would be easier for my second son to deal with that weather because of how he had been even as a child, how he enjoyed playing in the cold and all of that. So look at your child well. Have discussions with them. For university, it's not something you should do just on your own, or you and your husband should just sit down and say, oh, this is where your child is going to. Sit down with them. Have them go through the pros and the cons. Do a SWOT analysis. Look at everything, the strengths, the weaknesses, and the opportunities, and even the threats about these choices you're about to make. Limit your schools to 2 or 3 or 4 and say, okay, which one fits best? For a child who's going abroad and has so many options that is applied to like 10, 15, 20 schools, limit it, calm down, prune the list and say, okay, you've got into all these schools. Which ones make sense? So you don't have your head full of too much when you're making that decision. Please, 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 I can't emphasize this enough. For the university stage, do it with your child. One other point, which is very interesting, which is something I've done. I remember when I was going to do my master's with 2 young children, I looked for the nearest Redeemed church. Redeemed is a church I do not attend as a member, but I admire the way they have, parishes all over the world. And in every city you go to, it's almost a guarantee that you'll find a Redeemed church. It helped me settle down in that city. And for your child who might be going far from home, if you are able to find a Redeemed church in that city, reach out to them and you'll be surprised that they'll be able to also help your child settle down in that city. Now, your child might decide to make that church his or her church or decide to go somewhere else, but at the initial stage, give them that connection so they can see their fellow Nigerians and just, familiar faces that will help them settle in that new land that they're in. It's really, really been very, very helpful for me as an individual and even for my son as well when he moved to the US. So I hope I've been able to help you if you're thinking about what school your children should go to at any stage, whether it is nursery, primary, secondary, or university. I hope I've been able to give you some good advice. Please, 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 get the resources I have available. And before I got to say thank you to Aisha Abubakr for this beautiful outfit, I really, really love it. So take care, and if you have any questions or comments or things that can help other parents as they're trying to find out the best school for their children, please leave it in the comments and don't forget to subscribe and to share. Thank you very much.